Hey Pajama Bosses, welcome to another episode of Pajama Bosses TV. In today's episode, I'm gonna be talking to you about how not to become the superhero of your own business. Now, if you're wondering what this thing about not becoming the superhero is, stick until the end of this video and you will find out. Hey, welcome to another episode of Pajama Bosses TV. And as I said at the beginning, today I'm going to be talking to you about how not to become the superhero of your own business. Now, I know it sounds a little bit crazy because, in today's day and age, we all want to become somehow acknowledged and recognized, right? And that's what companies do, right? They put you on stage as you become very successful, and they give you awards and they recognize you. And we always talk about our teams on how important it is to recognize people, right? Now, there is a difference. And if you stick until the end of this video, as I said, you will know exactly what I mean by not becoming the superhero of your own business, A little bit of background so you understand where I'm coming from. So, a few years back, as Masha and I were building our business, from Australia, I started to go, to many countries around the world, especially Southeast Asia. So Masha and I decided to pack our bags, put, everything in storage, rent our 2-bedroom unit at that time. And, we said, well, if we need to do this business, let's just do one thing that we know how to do, which is what? To become good at what we do by working harder. Okay? Have you ever been told, if you want to be successful, be a good person, right? That's the first thing, right? And the second thing is, if you work hard, you will be successful. Have you heard that before? Yeah. So it is true, or partially true, not entirely true, okay? Because apart from working hard, you also need to work smart, right? But anyway, going back to our story, we decided to go and move to Thailand at that time, and we were living kind of in a hotel, in between hotel and looking for an apartment. But long story short, what happened was the following. We started to travel around Southeast Asia, and we were working, I would say, between 12, 14 hours, 16 hours a day sometimes, traveling, from country to country, from Thailand to Malaysia, to Hong Kong, to China, Taiwan. And wherever we were going, we were doing, the presentations, the prospecting, inviting, three-way calls, and all these things, right? Yeah, I think probably it may sound very familiar to most of you, right? As you're building your business, that's what you do, right? You drive momentum, you drive the business, right? You need to lead by, as we say sometimes, by example, right? So that means if you don't work hard, you can't expect anybody to work hard, right? Now, let me go back to what I was saying to you at the beginning. What does that have to do with not becoming the superhero? Okay, so hear me out for a second. Let's go back to superheroes, okay? Now, superheroes, superheroes like Superwoman, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, I don't know, there's so many, right? And, all the movies are amazing, by the way, I'm sure you all have your own favorite superhero, okay? In my case, to kind of explain to you why you should not become the superhero of your own business, I'm going to explain it to you through, let's say, Batman, right? So let's just go back for a second to Batman. Okay, so at the end of each kind of movie, right, what happens to Batman? Well, he's tired, he's wounded, he's solved all the issues, right, in Gotham City, right, with all the jokers and whatever, all the challenges, yes. And then what does he do? Well, he kind of wounded and tired. He goes back into his cave/castle, right? Bruce Wayne, and it kind of retires, right? And disappears. Yeah, that's basically what happens in every single sequel of Batman. Now, let's go to the next sequel of that kind of series of movies with Batman. How does every single movie of a superhero in general, but especially specifically with Batman, how does it start? Well, most of the time, the Gotham City has some kind of crime happening, some kind of challenge, right? And what does the mayor of the city do, or the police, or the citizens of Gotham? What do? Well, The number one thing they do is they put this sign on the sky with the Batman logo thing, right? And they're calling for Batman to come back. And while they're doing that, what do you think they do? Well, you know what they do? Absolutely nothing. They just wait for Batman to come back. They wait for him to solve everything. And in between, they just wait, right? Now, simple, right? Now, think about in your business. Well, let me tell you what happened in our business, okay? And that's why I'm telling you about this. As we were traveling through Southeast Asia, going from country to country, whenever, let's say, we were in Malaysia, our Thailand team would go to sleep. And pretty much they were waiting for Masha and Miguel to come back and help. At the same time, the team in Hong Kong would do exactly the same. So we found ourselves pretty much like Batman. We were doing the presentations in this country, doing all these things, and in between all these other places, they were all coming to a halt and waiting for Masha and I to come back. They all had this sign, right, of Masha and Miguel, please come back, we need your help. Now, if you think about it for a second, maybe it doesn't, it's not a big deal, right? Because let's say that you only have business in, 2 cities or 2 states or 2 countries. You can go back and forth, no problem. But if you think about it for a second, what happens when you grow that business, when you scale that business? Challenges are not going to go away. They're only going to increase, right? And you need to be able to tackle the challenges today, not tomorrow, but today, because the more effective you are at solving those challenges, the more you will be able to course correct and then put the business in the right direction. In our case, well, this is what happened. We had this mentality, and I don't know if you have the same, where, the harder you work, the more successful you're going to be. And guess what we did? Well, we said, okay, we just need to hone in on this work. Let's work harder. Well, we ended up working 12, 14 hours, 16 hours a day sometimes, between travel, presentations, prospecting, 3-way calls, you name it, right? So much that we physically ended up in hospital, exhausted. Now, at that point in time, we were in Malaysia. And at that point in time, when you hit rock bottom in your life, you start kind of rethinking the way you do things, right? And this is kind of the thing that dawned on us. What if we were able to scale our business without necessarily having to scale the amount of hours that we need to work in the business actively, right? At that time, if we were working, 10 hours a day, and we wanted to go from $15,000 that we were probably making around that time to $100,000 a month, you cannot scale 10 times the amount of work you do, right? So there has to be a way. Now, what is the solution to all that? You will be wondering. Well, in our case, we reversed engineer, the outcome. So the outcome was $100,000 a month, right? $1 million income, 80 something per month. If we were able to do that and at the same time decrease the amount of hours we are working in our business, how does that look like today? What kind of work do we need to do? Do we need to put systems in place? What is it that we need to do? In our case, here's the bottom line for you, okay? When you have systems, when you have processes, and your business depends on the systems and the processes instead of you, you can go to sleep. The system never goes to sleep. Everybody, whenever they go to your system, they click on a play button and the business will keep going, because every time they click on that button, the video will play, right? So you can train 10,000 people at the same time. You can train 1,000 people at the same time, regardless of the country, regardless of anything. Can you train 1,000 people day in and day out, 24/7? Probably not, right? You can say, well, I can do a Zoom call with an hour, and yes, you might be able to do that. But how many times can you do that per day? Now, on the other hand, not becoming the superhero of your own business is as follows. You have a system. Everything you do points to the system. Everything you teach to your team members are where to find the information in the system. Think about that for a second. Will that expedite your duplication? Most probably, because they don't need to know how to do a presentation. They just need to know where to find the information about that. Is that going to free up your time? Most probably, so you can do higher income producing activities. You can oversee what is happening in your business instead of being in the trenches that sometimes we are right here and we don't see what is happening around us because we are too much inside the business. Sometimes having a higher view gives you a different perspective, and you can then see whether maybe that country needs more work, or that business, that leader needs more help. But you need to have the time, the free time, and you be able to oversee that business so you can actually help. Okay? So I could be here talking for hours, but I hope you guys get the point. Do not become the superhero of your own business. Make the business depend on a system instead of depending on you, because if it depends on you, it will limit the amount of time that you can spend in your business and how much you can scale it. If you have a system, you can scale it as much as you want. In the meantime, thanks for listening. If you like it, please comment below somewhere here. Share it with whoever you think it might be useful to. In the meantime, have an amazing week, and we will see you around.